Lesson 20, two-step equations. Here's part 1. Evaluate the squares. Let's go over 3 examples, box A, box B, and box C. Here, 1 squared equals 1, 2 squared equals 4, and 3 squared equals 9. Here's part 2. Find the square roots, and notice that it says, write only the positive root. First example, box K. Here, find the square root of 9. So what number times itself is equal to 9? And I know that the square root of 9 is 3, since 3 times 3 equals 9. Keep in mind that there is another answer to this problem, since negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to positive 9 as well. But just like it says here in the directions, we're going to write only the positive root for this set of problems. Next example, box L. Find the square root of 36. So what number times itself is equal to 36? And our answer here is 6, since 6 times 6 equals 36. Now look at box P. Find the square root of a squared. And we know that the square root of a squared is a, since a times a equals a squared. Last example, box Q. The square root of b squared is b, since b times b equals b squared. Here's part 3. Solve for A, B, or C. Here's the example box. Here we have a squared plus 16 equals 25, and we're going to solve for A. So let's subtract 16 from both sides of the equation. Here we're left with a squared equals 9. And remember, we're solving for A. And notice that A is not by itself yet, since we have a squared. So next, let's take the square root of a squared, just like we did here. And whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do the same thing to the other side of the equation. So take the square root of 9 as well. Next line. The square root of a squared is a, since a times a equals a squared. Here's the equal sign. And the square root of 9 is 3, since 3 times 3 equals 9. So our final answer, A equals 3. Let's check that answer. Let's substitute 3 for A in our original equation. So instead of a squared, we'll have 3 squared. 3 squared gives us 9. 9 plus 16 does equal 25, so we know that this answer is correct. Next, box X. Here we have 9 plus b squared equals 25, and we're going to solve for b. So let's subtract 9 from both sides of the equation. Here we're left with b squared equals 16. And notice b is not by itself yet, since we have b squared. So take the square root of b squared, and whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do the same thing to the other side of the equation. So take the square root of 16. The square root of b squared is b, since b times b equals b squared. Here's the equal sign. The square root of 16 is 4, since 4 times 4 equals 16. Final answer, b equals 4. Our last example looks a little different, Here's box AD. Here's 9 plus 16 equals c squared. And notice that 9 plus 16 can be simplified, so let's make that our first step. 9 plus 16 equals 25, so write it down. Here's the equal sign, and here's c squared. We need to solve for c. It's not by itself yet since we have c squared, so take the square root of c squared. Here's the square root of c squared, and whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side as well. So take the square root of 25. The square root of 25 is 5. Here's the equal sign. The square root of c squared is c. So our final answer is 5 equals c, or c equals 5.